In the legendary film Rashomon, we discover that the truth is never simple. Each perspective reveals a different story. What you're about to hear is a true Rashomon tale from Hollywood's darkest corners. Which version do you believe? James Dean, the rebel without a cause, met his untimely end on September 30th, 1955. He was just 24 years old. Officially, it was an accident. A young star driving too fast in his beloved Porsche 550 Spider, known as Little Bastard. But was it really that simple? Over the years, many theories have emerged, each offering a different perspective on what might have caused this tragic crash. Today, we'll dive into these stories. Was it just a tragic accident, or could something more sinister have been at play? The official version: it was a tragic accident. The most widely accepted story is straightforward. On the afternoon of September 30th, 1955, James Dean and his mechanic, Rolf Wütherich, were on their way to a race in Salinas, California. Dean was speeding along Route 46 when, at the intersection with Route 41, a Ford Tudor, driven by a man named Donald Turnipseed, made a left turn directly in front of Dean's Porsche. The two cars collided almost head-on. Dean was pronounced dead shortly after. Turnipseed survived the crash, though he suffered serious injuries. The conclusion? A tragic accident caused by Dean's excessive speed, which made it impossible for him to avoid the collision. But some argue that this explanation doesn't tell the whole story. Mechanical failure, the car that wasn't ready. Another theory points to mechanical failure. Dean's Porsche was brand new and had been prepped for the race just days earlier. Some speculate that the car wasn't fully ready, and there might have been an issue with the vehicle that contributed to the crash. Could it be that the steering locked up, or the brakes failed at a crucial moment? Dean's mechanic, Rolf Wütherich, was in the car with him, and while he survived the crash, he gave conflicting accounts of what exactly happened in those final moments. Some say he hinted that there might have been something wrong with the car, but his trauma and injuries make it difficult to know for sure. The curse of Little Bastard. Then there's the theory that veers into the eerie and supernatural. Was Little Bastard cursed? Dean had a well-documented fascination with the car, even showing it off to friends in the days leading up to his death. But several people, including British actor Alec Guinness, reportedly warned Dean that the car was dangerous. Guinness allegedly told Dean that if he drove the Porsche, he would be dead within a week. The crash happened exactly 7 days later. What makes this theory even stranger is what happened after the crash. Pieces of the wrecked Porsche were salvaged and sold off, and soon after, anyone who owned a piece of Little Bastard experienced strange accidents. Cars carrying parts of the Porsche were involved in crashes. Garages that housed the remnants of the car caught fire, and one man was even killed while trying to steal parts from the wreckage. Could Dean's death have been part of a larger curse tied to the infamous car? Intentional sabotage, darker motives at play. While there's no solid evidence to support it, some have whispered about the possibility of sabotage. James Dean's rising fame and passion for racing might have made him a target, either in Hollywood or within the competitive racing world. Could someone have tampered with the Porsche before that fateful drive? Dean's rapid rise to stardom may have rubbed some the wrong way. Or perhaps competitors in the racing world didn't want him in the game. Sabotage is a long shot, but it remains a theory for those who believe Dean's death was no accident. The recklessness of youth, Hollywood's fast lane. Another theory doesn't point to a curse or sabotage, but instead blames the larger culture of young Hollywood at the time. Dean was known for his love of speed and thrill-seeking. He was part of a generation of young stars who loved to push boundaries on and off the screen. Some say his death was an almost inevitable outcome of this high-octane lifestyle. Dean wasn't just acting the rebel on screen, he lived it. Racing was more than a hobby, it was a passion. Some argue that despite his talent and fame, he was simply too reckless, too fast, and too young to realize he was flirting with disaster. In this version of events, it wasn't sabotage, curses, or mechanical failure. It was Hollywood's culture of excess and speed that ultimately claimed Dean's life. Survivor's guilt, the weight of Donald Turnipseed's account. Donald Turnipseed, the man driving the other car that collided with Dean's Porsche, carried the weight of the crash for the rest of his life. While he survived with relatively minor injuries, the psychological toll was heavy. He rarely spoke publicly about the crash, and his brief statements left room for speculation. Some suggest that Turnipseed's actions may have played a larger role in the accident than officially acknowledged. Was his left turn truly unavoidable, or did he misjudge the speed at which Dean was approaching? Turnipseed's guilt and trauma might have colored his recollections, leaving us to wonder if the official story paints the full picture. Mysterious warnings, premonition or coincidence. Lastly, there's the strange case of Alec Guinness's warning. When Guinness met Dean just days before the crash, he reportedly felt a deep sense of dread upon seeing the Porsche. He told Dean that the car was sinister and that if he drove it, he would be dead within the week. The crash happened exactly 7 days later. This story, along with other anecdotes of friends and colleagues feeling uneasy about Dean's driving habits, adds a layer of fatalism to the crash. Was it a simple accident, or was Dean's death somehow destined to happen? As with all Rashomon stories, the truth about James Dean's fatal crash may never be fully known. Was it a tragic accident caused by speeding, a mechanical failure, a curse, or something more sinister? Each theory offers a different angle, but in the end, we're left with more questions than answers. Which version of the story do you believe?